Okay, so we continue the reading of the Bhagavata Purana in my abridged presentation. It's a kind of summary of the general text. All the stories are there, all the situations are there, but it's shorter. We have seen that the original text of the Bhagavata Purana is about 18,000 verses, and they tend to repeat themselves sometimes. So we have seen the end of Kurukshetra, the battle of Kurukshetra, and Krishna is there and saves the Parikshit, who is still in the womb of his mother, Uttara. And after that, Krishna goes back to Dwarka, and we have the prayers of Queen Kunti, which we have read specifically. Now we return to the main presentation. Okay. So, Sutta then narrated the events in the Pandavas' family after the war. When Ashwatthama launched the Brahmastra, the child saw, Brahmastra, child saw Krishna coming to save him, and from that time onwards he felt a deep desire to find the Lord. Therefore he was called Parikshit, he who examines, because every time he met a person he watched him intently in the hope of recognizing the Lord who saved him. Parikshit was the heir to the throne, and his birth was celebrated with great festivities. The learned Brahmanas calculated his horoscope and praised his wonderful natural qualities. Yudhishthira had now become the emperor of a vast kingdom and performed another three great yagyas for the benefit of the subjects, also inviting Krishna and other relatives from the Yadu dynasty. In that period, Uncle Vidura, brother to Pandu and Dhritarashtra, returned from his long pilgrimage and was welcomed with great affection and joy by all his relatives. Vidura had left Hastinapura before the war, disgusted by the evil stubbornness of Duryodhana and by his plans to destroy the Pandavas. Now the circumstances had changed, and Vidura saw the possibility to convince Dhritarashtra, Duryodhana's father, to raise his consciousness above the material attachment, greed and pride that had ruined his entire family, and to properly prepare for his imminent death. Vidura's words were in perfect timing. The old regent, who had been born blind, was increasingly fragile in health. He had also lost all his children and was in a very embarrassing situation, honored and royally maintained by those he had persecuted and tried to kill for many years. So Dhritarashtra took a decision, and without saying anything to anyone, he left the palace together with his faithful wife Gandhari to retire to the Himalaya and engage in austerities to control his senses. When Yudhishthira found that his uncle Dhritarashtra had gone, he felt a great pain and guilt, thinking that the old regent had lost all his sons because of him. At that time, Narada Muni arrived to pacify him, and after reminding him that everything happens according to God's plan, he informed him that Dhritarashtra and Gandhari had left with Vidura to go to Saptasrota, where the sacred Ganges divided into 7 streams, to engage in the austerities of yoga and to become free from bodily attachments. During his brief visit to the court, Vidura had preferred not to give the Pandavas the bad news of Krishna's death and the destruction of his city, Dwarka, because the tragedy would be soon discovered anyway. Arjuna went to Dwarka to see Krishna, but was absent for 7 months. Yudhishthira started to become worried, also because he had observed some bad omens, irregularities in the cycle of seasons, sudden cyclones, increased pollution due to dust and smoke, and a general degradation of the environment in inhabited areas and even in the water reservoirs. Looks like today. Degradation was also visible in the way of life among the people, with spreading depression and a growing tendency to quarrel and cheat. Even the animals seemed to suffer. The cows did not give milk anymore, dogs and jackals howled all the time, and the crows were everywhere. Finally, Arjuna returned, full of grief and tears, and to Yudhishthira's inquiry he revealed the tragic end of the Yadu dynasty and his own despair for the disappearance of Krishna, who had been the source of all blessings and protection for the Pandavas. Recalling the many occasions when he had shared Krishna's activities and the teachings he had received from the Lord, Arjuna found consolation and new inspiration to become detached from all material thoughts. Yudhishthira and the older brothers, too, were deeply touched by the news. The other brothers, too, were deeply touched by the news. After enthroning his grandson Parikshit and putting Vajra, son of Aniruddha and grandson of Krishna, in Mathura as king of Surasena, Yudhishthira performed the Prajapatya Yagya to become free from the responsibilities of the kingdoms. Abandoning all luxuries, Yudhishthira dressed in rags, loosened his hair and started to consume only liquid foods, giving up all interest for whatever happened around him. Then he started walking towards the Himalaya to become an ascetic, followed by his brothers. In the meantime, Vidura too had left his body while he was on a pilgrimage at Prabhas. Prabhas is Somanath, where is the temple of Somanath, Prabhasa Kshetra. Draupadi and Subhadra, the wives of the Pandavas, also retired to engage in meditation on the Lord, and soon they also left this world. Okay, so we have the disappearance of the Pandavas. Disappearance of Vidura, Dhritarashtra, Gandhari, all the old generation. So we have young Parikshit Maharaj proved himself to be worthy of his grandparents' trust and ruled following the advice of the best ministers, choosing Kripacharya as a court priest. He married the daughter of King Uttara and had 4 sons, the eldest of whom was named Janamejaya. He performed 3 Ashwamedha Yagas on the bank of the Ganges, and to make sure that everything was well in the kingdom, he often patrolled around on his chariot pulled by black horses and decorated with a lion flag. One day he saw a totally unqualified man, disguised as a king, who was beating a cow and a bull. The bull was already standing on one leg only, and the cow was crying, and Parikshit realized they were the personifications of Dharma and earth. The legs of Dharma are the 4 principles of religion: austerity, cleanliness, compassion, and truthfulness. Truthfulness is a last divine quality that can still resist somehow in the age of Kali, and without which religion has no more meaning. All clear, until now?
Yes.
You still there, good. The earth was crying because of the sufferings of innocent people, for all the abandoned women and children, for the Brahminical class who had become awfully neglectful, for the ruthless rulers, for the increasing consumption of non-vegetarian foods, for famines and droughts, and for the general degradation of society. It sounds familiar. But above all, she was crying for the disappearance of Krishna, who had descended to alleviate the burden of the earth, consisting of the uncontrolled growth of armies and weaponry. Parikshit was angered by the sight of the personification of Kali Yuga, who was tormenting the cow and the bull so cruelly, and challenged the criminal to a fight, as this was the duty of a good king. Terrified, the Kali Purusha immediately abandoned all pretense of arrogance and surrendered, begging the emperor for mercy. Because the evildoer had surrendered, Parikshit permitted him to remain in the kingdom, but only in those places where people chose to engage in slaughtering and eating animals, consuming liquor, spreading prostitution and gambling, and where gold was hoarded. In this way, if the leaders of society, the rulers and the members of the governments, the brahmanas and religious persons, remain away from these sources of contamination, society can stay healthy, which is still valid today. However, the effect of the bad times started to show. One day during his traveling, Maharaj Parikshit was alone, fatigued, tormented by hunger and thirst, in the middle of a forest. Looking for a water reservoir, he entered the hermitage of Samika Rishi, where he saw the Rishi sitting in silence with eyes closed, deeply immersed in meditation. The king asked for some water, but the Rishi did not answer or move at all. Annoyed, Parikshit retaliated against the apparent lack of respect of the Rishi with a prank in very bad taste, hanging a dead serpent around his neck, in a mock imitation of the great ascetic Shiva, the lord of yoga. Samika Rishi's son was a young and inexperienced boy. Entering the ashram, he saw the offense against his father and was filled with rage. To show his great powers to his young companions, the boy cast a curse against Parikshit, condemning him to die within 7 days for the bite of a winged serpent. Shaken from his meditation, Samika Rishi realized what had happened. He was very sorry for the turn of events, and scolded his son for behaving childishly in sentencing the protector of the kingdom to death because of a mere prank. From his side, Parikshit soon realized he had acted like a fool and an uncivilized person in offending the Rishi, who had simply been unaware of his arrival. When he heard about the curse, he calmly accepted his destiny and retired to the bank of the Ganges to prepare for imminent death. The news spread, and all the great rishis assembled around Parikshit to assist him in such a delicate moment. There arrived Narada, Vyasa, Atri, Vashishta, Vishwamitra, Parasara, Angira, Parashuram, Bharadwaja, Gautama, Maitreya, Devala, Charmana, and many others. The king immediately took advantage of the opportunity, and after offering them his homage, asked their advice on what he should do. At the time also Shukadeva, the son of Vyasa, arrived in that place, and the glorious assembly of saints and sages offered him the seat of honor. Then we continue with the teachings of Sukadeva on yoga. So these are the questions of Parikshit that we have seen quickly in the previous video. This is a little summarized. Sukadeva serenely took the seat he had been offered. Parikshit went to offer him his homage with folded hands. O Brahmana, Parikshit said, you know Brahman and you live and act as Brahman. Your presence sanctifies this place and our lives, and we consider your arrival as a special blessing from Krishna, who is very dear to the sons of Pandu. I pray you, teach me the path of perfection for the human being, and especially for one who is about to die. Who isn't? Tell me about what is to be listened to, recited, remembered, and worshipped, and also what should not be done. The young saint, only 16 years old, had already overcome all attachments and identifications with the material body, and his awareness was firmly established on the spiritual level. All the people present were extremely interested in listening to his explanations. My dear king, said Sukadeva, your question is glorious because it is beneficial for everyone, whatever is their level of evolution. Nobody knows when the time of death will come for them, and too often people waste the valuable time of human life in activities that do not give any real benefit, in mere survival at the animal level, such as sleeping, mating, finding food and shelter, and maintaining one's family. The really important thing is to achieve the perfection of human life, that consists in spiritual realization, the knowledge of God. Even one single moment of divine consciousness is worth more than one entire life wasted in ordinary occupations that do not give any lasting benefit, a benefit we will be able to take with us even after death. We should not fear death. In fact, we should prepare with the utmost care for the last moment of life, leaving one's home and living in a pure and solitary place, controlling the mind and focusing it on meditation on Lord Vishnu. Thrilled by the perfect answers of the great sage, Parikshit was very eager to apply the instructions he had just received. I beg you, he said, please explain to me in details what I should do, how I must focus my mind in order to purify it. Then Sukadeva explained to him the practice of Ashtanga Yoga. One should control the posture of one's body and breathing. This will help to control the mind, senses, and intelligence in order to apply them to the contemplation of the universal form of the Lord, the cosmic manifestation, called Viratrupa, in the following way. So, we are talking now about the Viratrupa, which is the same thing that Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita. When Arjuna is asking Krishna, how should we meditate on you? Krishna shows him the Viratrupa. The lowest planets, Patala, are the soles of the feet of the universal form, while the heels and toes are the Rasatala planets. The ankles are the Mahatala planets, and the shins are the Talatala planets. His knees are the Sutala planets. His thighs are the Vitala and Atala planets. The hips are Mahitala, and the outer space is the navel. The chest of the universal form consists of the luminaries, means the stars. The neck is the Mahar planets, the mouth is the Janas planets, the forehead the Tapas planets. The highest planetary system, known as Satyaloka, is the head. His arms are the celestial beings led by Indra. The 10 directions, the 8 cardinal points plus above and below, are the ears, and the sound is hearing. His hearing. His nostrils are the Ashwini Kumaras, and scent is his sense of smell. His mouth is blazing fire. The external sphere of the universe constitutes his eye socket. His eye is the sun and the faculty of sight. His eyelids are the day and the night, and the devas, such as Brahma, reside in the movements of his eyebrows. His palate is Varuna, and the essence of everything is his tongue. The Vedic hymns are his brain, and his jaws are Yama. Affection is his teeth, and the mesmerizing, illusory energy is his smile. Modesty is his upper lip, desire is his chin, religion is the chest, and irreligion the back. Brahma, who generates all beings, is his penis, and Mitra Varuna are his testicles. The ocean is the waist, and the hills and mountains are his bones. The rivers are the veins, the trees the hair on his body, and air is his breath. The ages are his movements, and his activities are the reactions of the three gunas. So, you remember when we were reading the beginning of the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad?
Yeah.
When there is a description of the Pashu, the Ashwa.
Mm-hmm.
That is the Viratrupa. So the Ashwamedha Yagya, again, it's not a slaughtering an animal to make non-vegetarian food. Okay. The ages are his movements, and his activities are the reactions of the three gunas. The rain cloud are the hair on his head. The passage between the day and night is his clothing, and the supreme cause of material creation is his intelligence. His mind is the moon, and Rudra his ego. His face is represented in human society by the Brahmanas, his arms by the Kshatriyas, his legs by the Vaishyas, and his feet protect the Shudras. All the worshipable devas are parts of his body. One who sincerely wants to obtain liberation must meditate on this universal form of the Lord. Okay, so we can maybe elaborate a little bit here and understand that the universal form, the form of the universe, is not to be disrespected or despised or minimized or neglected, because it is a material form, but it's a material form of Vishnu. So nothing in Vishnu is just material. So the Virat Purusha, we can call it Hiranyagarbha, we can call it Brahma, we can call it whatever, but it's Vishnu. Okay. Now, when we become able to see Vishnu everywhere, then we also understand our true transcendental identity, transcendental nature. Because the Virat Rupa is a material form, but it's a blueprint for the material form. So it's the origin of the material form. It's not limited by time, place, time, space, and individuality. Is this clear?
Yes.
So when people say one should not worship the devas, the demigods, that's stupid, because the devas are the body of Vishnu, are the body of the Viratrupa, are the limbs of the body of the Viratrupa. So we need to show them respect and worship them in the proper way. Now, some people are quoting the Gita where it is saying that people who worship the devas are just worshipping God but without proper knowledge. Yeah, but that doesn't mean that they should not worship the devas. They should worship the devas with the proper knowledge, which is seeing the devas as limbs of the body of Vishnu. I don't know, is that clear? I think this is a very important point.
Yes.
Okay.
We discussed this previously also, that
Yeah.
devas are the limbs of Vishnu.
Exactly. So the ages are his movements. Ages means the yugas. Are his movements, and his activities are the reactions of the three gunas. The rain cloud are the hair on his head, the passage. Okay, we read this. Instead of dreaming about the heavenly pleasures of the celestial planets, we should minimize our needs and meditate on the Supreme Lord. While some people meditate on the universal form of the Lord, others contemplate him in his form of Paramatma, Supreme Soul, the four-armed form of Vishnu, who resides in the heart of each living being, starting from the Lord's feet and going up towards his smiling face, where one can find the true happiness of the soul. This meditation is in fact a scientific procedure by which we can control the life, air, and the mind, and live our body in full awareness. Okay, so this is the yoga process. God manifests in many forms through the functions of the personalities of the devas, each one personifying a particular quality or blessing. However, the worship of the supreme form of Vishnu bestows a blessing of transcendental awareness. Okay, so it's proper to worship the devas, but to focus specifically on Vishnu will help us becoming situated in transcendence, because Vishnu is beyond the material universe. Okay. Parikshit was very eager to hear more about Vishnu, and he prayed Sukadeva to talk to him about the activities of Vishnu in this world. Sukadeva immersed himself in meditation on the Lord and offered him his respects before answering to the questions. God is the supreme soul of all souls, the personification of the Vedas, worshipped by all who are free from false identification. This is the teaching that Brahma, the first living being and creator of the universe, offered his son Narada, who had asked him how the material world is created and preserved, and who controls it. Brahma replied that his work of creation is subordinate and subsequent to the primary creation, that directly emanates from Vishnu in the form of his radiance. This original Purusha is called Mahavishnu or Karanarma Vasai Vishnu, because he remains reclining on the casual ocean. That Mahatattva or non-differentiated great reality that contains the germ of all existence. Then time comes to existence, Mother Kali. And the three gunas or qualities of matter, sattva or goodness, rajas or passion, and tamas or ignorance. The movement of these qualities creates material identification and a necessity to act on the manifested level, which in turn produces the subtle and gross material elements, space, the gaseous elements, the liquid elements, and the solid elements. Then the archetypes of personification of the various universal manifestations appear in the form of the various devas. From the inconceivable and transcendental body of Mahavishnu, the universes emanate like innumerable bubbles, and within each evolving universe, the Lord manifests as Garbhodakashayi Vishnu, also called Hiranyagarbha, the radiant fetus inside the universal uterus, sleeping within the amniotic waters of creation. From this transcendental form of the Virat Purusha originates the particular Brahma, who is in charge of the physical construction of the universe under his control. But apart from the manifestation of the Purusha avatars, the Lord also appears in the material world in other specific forms, according to the precise functions that constitute his divine mission. For example, Varaha, Suyagya, the son of Akuti, Kapila, the son of Devahuti, Datta, the son of Atri, Dattatreya, the four Kumaras, Nara and Narayan, the sons of Murti, King Prithu, Rishabha, Hayagriva, Matsya, Kurma, Nishinga, Mamana, Hamsa, Dhanvantari, Parashuram, Ramachandra, and Krishna. The Lord also descends as Vyasa, Buddha, and Kalki. Okay, so we continue. We continue or we go the next time? We have other questions of Parikshit. Narada Muni had the great fortune of hearing the glories. In what occasion did he transmit his teachings? I have understood that the transcendental spirit soul is different from the material body. How does it acquire a body and for what purpose? You have said that the Supreme Lord manifests in the universal form that is made of matter. So what is the difference between the body of the Lord and the body of the ordinary living beings? I am also eager to hear more about the Supreme Soul, who resides in every heart without being touched by the external energy. I've heard your explanations on how the planets of the universe and the rulers are situated in the various parts of the gigantic body of the Virat Purusha. However, I do not understand their functional position. Can you explain better? I also want to understand the duration of time between the creation and the destruction of the universe, and the subsequent creations, the nature of time constituted by past, present, and future, the duration and measure of life on the various planets of the universe, and why they are different. I would also like to know about the process of accumulation of the karmic reactions that cause the movements of the beings among the many species of life, from the celestial beings to the most insignificant creatures. What is the process of creation of the planets, of earth, the mountains, rivers, and sea, and their inhabitants? How is interplanetary space divided, the antariksha? What are the characteristics of the various social categories? And what rules should one observe in case of emergency, the apadharma? I'm also interested in hearing about the elementary principles of creation, of the mystic powers of yoga, of the subjects of Vedic literature, and the way in which the beings are born and develop. And above all, I want to hear about the benefits of devotional service to the Lord in relation to the Vedic ritual, the procedures that enable one to attain success in dharma, artha, kama, and moksha, or ethical integrity, acquisition of valuable things, satisfaction of the senses, and liberation from material conditions, dharma, artha, kama, moksha. how do the living beings appear, and how the asuras, the demonic beings, come to existence, and how do liberated beings live. And these are all the questions. Any comment at this point?
No, like it would be nice to hear these answers also.
Okay, so next time we continue with the answers. But we have seen he's asking a lot of stuff, and Sukadeva is not going to answer all in one spot. These are all the subjects that are discussed in the entire Bhagavata Purana. And for that, Sukadeva refers to conversations by other people, such as Vidura Maitreya, Krishna and Uddhava, and so on. So I think we can start from here next time, and also we can specifically go to the jewels of the Bhagavatam that we have. Maybe we can start with the teachings of Kapila, which is the third canto, which is the next the next big chunk of philosophy and theology. And Kapila talks especially about the process of incarnation and reincarnation and the birth and all this. And then we'll have the prayers to Shiva and the Shankara Gita, which are both in the fourth canto, in relationship with the story of the Prachetas, the sons of King Prachinavari, who go and pray Shiva, and then Shiva gives them very good teachings. So, in the Sankara Gita. Then we have the teachings of the four Kumaras to King Nimi, I think I remember. Then we have the teachings of Rishabhadeva, fifth canto, which are also interesting because Rishabhadeva is considered the first Jain, the first conqueror, Jina, of the Jain religion. Then we have Narayana Kavacha, the Hamsa Guhya prayers in Narayana Kavacha. Then we have the teachings of Prahlad, they're also very famous. And so on. So we have scattered here again. The most important one, I think, is the Uddhava Gita, which is practically very similar to the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna told Arjuna, and here he's saying more or less the same things to Uddhava. The Gopika Gita is also very interesting, 10th canto. Okay, so thanks for your kind participation.
Thank you for your time.
I hope you're happy about it.
Yes, yes.
Okay, good.